unless they have something.
Today is May the 17th, 2016. The meeting of Parks and Environmental Committee is presently called to order. Let's please call the roll.
Councilman Corbett. Councilman Hedgepath. Councilman Jones.
Here.
Councilwoman Robinson. Vice Chair Brown. Chairwoman Swearingen.
Present. All right, we have,
Acknowledge
And,
it.
and Councilwoman Boyd is present.
Thanks.
of course. All right, we have a resolution to accept and appropriate grant funds in the amount of $15,000 from the National Recreation and Park Association, Out of School Time Program, in partnership with the Walmart Foundation and Recreation Services, Out of School Time Programs. Can we get anybody to make a motion and placing this on the table, please?
Move it. Second.
All right, would you like to move it?
Already moved.
Okay, any discussion regarding it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How many children will we serve with this grant?
We have not made a determination yet. However, council, we have this grant to support us in our summer camp programs where we service at least 2,000 kids every summer. And we also have about 20 parks that we serve meals in the summertime. So we're still identifying all of that. But historically, we served about 20 parks. So I would roughly say, all in all, about 3,000 kids.
Thank you.
Any further discussion regarding this? Councilman Brown?
No, I don't have any discussion. I mean, you know, that 15,000 just going into the program itself.
Right.
So it's not like, I looked at it wrong.
Okay.
I thought it was $1.5 million, but I know better. Looked at it all wrong. Councilwoman's swearing, but
Okay.
it's fine.
Can we have a motion to accept this grant?
Yeah, he moved it. That's
I moved it.
Okay. We'll go on.
What
What about same night minutes?
vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? What about putting it on the same night minutes? Is that favorable?
Any time since, that's the question.
Well, anytime we get money, I was,
Oh, you want to make sure that money gets in.
you got it.
I like the way you talk. I really do. Is this program is for this summer?
Yes.
So we will recommend, receiving a grant. All right, let's go to number 2. Resolution to accept and appropriate $10,000 in grant funds from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture Forestry Division to support the urban and community forestry program within the community. I'd like to place this item for a motion.
My second.
All right, any discussion regarding it?
Well, I think just tell us about the program. I didn't know we had forestry within the urban.
It's the way that they move money.
I'm sorry.
If you could just expound on this program, it's unfamiliar to me.
Yeah, this is a tree program.
I know, you know, City of Memphis is a Tree City USA, has been for the last 3 years, recognized by the National Arbor Society. And this is just a grant for us to plant some trees at Galloway Golf Course.
Which golf course?
Galloway.
Any further discussion?
Wait a minute. I want to ask, because, I mean, this seems kind of ambiguous. I guess that's the word. I mean, it says to support the urban and community forestry program. Now, I mean, do we have a forestry program?
We do not have a forestry program per se.
Well, how can we take some money if we don't have what the money is given towards?
Well, we applied for a grant to plant some trees. And each year, part of that certification for Tree City USA is how many trees you plant and so forth. This is part of that. We applied for it, and the city was awarded that.
Okay.
Good
Councilman.
question.
How was the site selected?
Yeah.
How was the site selected?
Good.
Well, we went through a process
Throughout the division to see where there was some needs, and there was some needs at Galloway. And so that's where the selection was made.
Did it have to be confined to a golf course?
No.
And so, as far as, what was the criteria for making that selection?
Well, there was a need for some trees at Galloway. So that's where the determination was made. We went again through the planning department. And that's where they can be, we needed to plant them somewhere they could be maintained, watered, fertilized, and so forth. And if we didn't plant in a controlled environment, it would be difficult to achieve those, secure the life of the trees.
Was there any other, location considered?
Yeah, all the parks were considered. The whole division was considered as far as locations.
So, I understand that you want an area where it would be cared for, but what was the final decision in Galloway receiving that allocation?
Well, there's been some trees lost, there's a tree need at Galloway, and so that's where we made the decision. We'll move forward with more grants and applications and tree plants.
Councilwoman Kalila?
Now, it just appears to me, isn't Galloway the creme de la creme of the golf courses in the city? Would you say so?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you say that they need trees, so you send off to the Department of Agriculture, Forestry Division, and ask for a grant to bring trees, not to all the golf courses, but to Galloway.
We only got $10,000.
And why can't that 10,000 be split up on all of the golf courses?
It could.
But
It wasn't.
Councilman Jones?
Well, I don't know. if she
wait a minute, I
said-
haven't
I'm
finished
sorry,
yet.
I'm sorry. I saw you rear back. I thought
No,
you was
it
announcing.
just appears to me, and Mr. Smith, know, you know, I got love in my heart for you. After I ride by. But it just appears to me that in order to get something for the park or for the golf course that is the creme de la creme, that you gonna go all the way around the mountain in order to look up at the mountain to get what you want. I mean, that's what it appears. It just appears like you're not really doing anything wrong, but it's wrong what you're doing. I mean, that's how it appears to me. And I'm not trying to cause you any discomfort or anything, but I just want you to see how it looks from somebody who doesn't have a dog in the fight. I don't golf, I don't play tennis, but it just looks like it's wrong what you're doing. I mean, and I know you don't want your good to be evil spoken of. That comes from the Bible. And it just looks like you're using the Department of Agricultural Forestry Division in order to get $10,000 to plant some trees in your creme de la creme of a golf course. Just like you wanted $850,000 to go into a tennis court until we had our drive-by, and then you said, no, we're gonna do it this way, which was the right way. That's all I'm trying to say. You're getting $10,000 from the Department of Agriculture to go to a golf course that's the creme de la creme. And it just seems wrong to me. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just seems wrong.
Councilman Jones.
Yeah, and mine was going along those same lines. Ms. Smith, I don't know how true this is, just a report that I remember hearing. And it said that defense contractors, what they do, let's just take the F-18, I don't know what bomber that they're on, or fighter jet that they're on, but they put a component of the manufacture of that jet in all 50 states to essentially say, well, when they want to snatch the funding, nobody's going to say they want that funding or that cut to take place in their backyard. But as Ms. Fuller indicated, we've had two, and this is a minor project compared to the other one, but there doesn't seem to be any equitable distribution in the small resource nor the other resource. And I would think, and I would just, just a friendly admonition, and if I were in your position, I would make sure that every district is served with basically every project that I do to make, to make the members of the 7 districts, and to think about it, you really don't have that many to serve. You have 7.
Exactly.
Because when you hit that 7, you're picking up Super District 8, you're picking up Super District 9. So, just, to allocate all resources to just one particular one, I think that's, I don't think that that's gonna, you're gonna always have opposition from council members when we see things that way. And so, I think that, we realize that 10,000 is not a lot, but I think that this is coming on the heels of one where a significant, a much greater, a much larger project was going to one particular area, one particular district. And I think that it would cause a lot of us less concern if going forward those projects would be distributed across districts, regardless whether they're big projects or small projects, because it's all in the appearance of things.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah. Let me. Okay, Chairperson, Chair ladies.
You have the floor, Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Smith. It's clear cut where you want to put those trees. But at the same time, since this particular small money, small revenue, the thing is that you should, I know that Councilman Jones said it correctly about having, what he was saying was, you don't have to put all the trees in Gallatin. The trees gonna have to be distributed. Because when they sent the revenue funds in, it was about trees, not by the Pacific, Park anyway. So you're gonna have to put some trees in Hastings Park, Douglas Park, Charging, all the parks that we could name. If you got, how many trees would the $10,000 buy? That's the question.
I'd say the $10,000 probably
20 trees, with
20
planning and so forth.
20 trees.
Yeah, somewhere
I know you were concerned about the maintenance, but what happens, you got a park, the parks and recreation, that's what my man told me was. You got staff that can keep those trees up. And that's what you're gonna have to do. But in other words, you basically gonna have to plant those trees, and you're gonna have to put some in just about every park that you can find. You need a couple in Galloway, I can buy that, but you're gonna have to put them somewhere else as well. Because you're gonna be putting all the trees on one site, and you have to fairly distribute those trees to different sites. I know they need a tree up in Douglas Park, because a tree was blown down by the storm. You can use a tree in Hastings Park. You can use trees all over. You need to reassess, but if you don't put all the trees in Galloway Park, then that's not looking good. It's not really looking good for you. You're gonna have to fairly distribute those trees. I think what brings sent up the red flag is that you're putting all the trees in Galloway. Every tree. $15,000 going straight in Galloway. And then you made a statement about maintenance, how to maintain. I know you still got park workers that maintain, can go around and they could, whatever it takes to keep that tree growing. If you have maintenance crews for that.
General services.
General services has a crew, yeah. Well, I think that'd be the best thing, because I think it's sending the wrong message.
Okay.
I want you to know
I'll
this.
go back, review that.
Huh?
I'll go back and review that and we'll put some.
Anything else, Councilman Brown?
What I'm saying is, this is what this body is asking. I can't speak for everybody, I'm speaking for myself. They want the revenue that you receive for the trees to be distributed. That's the only thing they ask.
It's some cheap.
I'd like to,
Not just, they get more money.
bring my colleagues' attention to.
Not just the trees, yeah.
Your time is up, Mr. Brown.
I know it is. My time was up when I got here.
I'd like to bring my colleagues' attention to this resolution. Does everyone have a copy of this? And the $10,000 in grant funds, if you would, I would like for you to look at what that encompasses. $2,200 towards equipment, $320 towards miscellaneous professional fees, $464 for marketing, $800 printing outside, $3,676 for miscellaneous materials and supplies, $2,000 for seminar training education, $540 for travel, and all that totals the $10,000 for the tree grant.
Where the money going for the trees?
You hear that right?
Ain't no money for the trees.
So I just wanted to bring your attention towards this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, this 10,000 is not for the trees. This follows, a grant will follow this for trees, but this is to fund the tree board. And some of the items that they're gonna do and furnish. Yeah, the forestry program, and that's under the tree board.
Just debated a different resolution.
Got no bottom.
So this didn't go for any trees.
Different resolution.
Well, I would like to share with my colleagues, with you, Mr. Smith, when you come back with the tree request,
Yes, ma'am.
let's make certain that there's an equal, equitable distribution, and all of them are not in Delaware. Because one thing that I have observed, Lethbridge and Galloway are all within the same district.
It's a wonderful district.
It is, but we have some others.
Yes.
So there is an equitable distribution. All right, I'd like to, yes, Councilwoman Patrice.
And since we were not talking about trees today, but I do want to just put on your minds that we need to replace the trees that were cut down at Overton Park and the zoo and the Greens Ward. We need to make that a priority to put those trees back. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
The ones they cut down.
Oh, those trees are in storage, they moved them.
I like that.
Right, Ward?
Okay,
First?
thank you.
All right,
That's the theory.
we're ready to bring this to a vote?
They in storage.
Colleagues, we got to move on. We have another line item. Would you like, let's bring this to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All opposed? Aye.
This is a grant. Let them get the grant.
Okay, so
Let's vote, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Did you say aye?
Aye.
She's voting.
Oh, you opposed?
Yeah.
Or you just voted for?
I voted against.
Oh,
Clarification, can we get some?
Certainly. All right, let's go to the next line item. Discuss of tennis Memphis. Tennis Memphis. There are some requests that the council members asked of you, Mr. Smith. Were you able to
I did
bring back those responses?
we sent a response to, Brooke Hyman in the council office.
Okay.
Got some here, I don't know if I have
We've got enough here.
there's some that'll take us.
You get that?
About that?
You're not voting yet.
Sure.
Mr. Smith, you can keep that copy.
I have a question for you while he's distributing these, Mr. Smith, please. In your operating budget, you have requested a nonprofit management contract of $1,265,050. This includes contracts for the Brook Museum of Art, Botanic Gardens, Goodwill Homes, and Tennis Memphis. Out of the $1,265,050, how much will be appropriated specifically to Tennis Memphis?
Well, Tennis Memphis is within recreational services, $300,000 at this time is in the budget request for the tennis contract.
Okay, and within that $300,000, you also have agreed to encompass the utility bill.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're gonna incur that as well, which is $300,000 as well.
I think the utility bills are at $195,000 to $200,000
It was 300.
It was $300,000.
This time.
In arrears.
The utility
In the-
bill, I think, is around 2. Their management fee is 3.
It's $300,000 in the
They owe
rear.
300.
It's 300 in the rear.
Okay, you're talking about the arrears.
Right.
That's $300-something thousand. That's correct.
So you have agreed to pay that?
There's no payback. The city has already paid those utilities.
Okay.
The point is, Tennis Memphis has not reimbursed the city those
For that reimbursement.
And you will be paying for the utilities in the future?
Yes, ma'am. Under the current budget, that is correct.
So they will receive the $300,000. In addition to that, the city will be incurring their utility bill.
Yes, ma'am.
And it has been asked for you to raise that $300,000 by $500,000.
No, ma'am. Not to my knowledge. There was a verbal request at one time, at least, for
400,000. But, I don't know anything about 500,000.
Okay. So going forward, what do you, what can you assume the utility cost will be for the 7 tennis courts
$200,000.
per month?
No, ma'am.
That's
Per
year. Per year?
That's correct.
Okay. So, this will be reflected through what, the CIP,
No, ma'am, this is operating.
operating
request.
budget? So with the same, you increased, so are the same considerations, being made for the other nonprofit management groups, Botanic Gardens,
In
Brooks?
terms of utility and so forth, yes, ma'am.
So we will incur their utility expense as well.
In some cases, that's correct.
Okay, any other questions from the council?
Yeah.
Yes, a bunch of questions.
I feel you moved too swift on the first, when we was talking about those trees. I mean, you guys you just went on and executed them. I mean, it's
We
the
already
same-
voted on it.
I know we have, but we should be very cautious about how we vote in this. I have all rights and privileges to say that. We need to analyze what we're doing.
Hold on, Councilman Brown,
not trying to-
Councilman Jones has the floor right now.
Well, I yield to my
I
senior.
thought I had, okay, it's okay, my friend, go ahead on. You know, I've been here 20 years. so-
Go ahead, I'll go after that.
So, but the thing is that we need to take something about this park budget, something about parks, and as you said, Mr. Stegall, park and recreation, correct? Let me just say this, that we're gonna have to take a closer look, because number one, I mean, you know, there was some more components to the, tree grant from the state of Tennessee. Then it had another match that comes from the city. Is that correct, Mr. Steve? Am I correct pronouncing your name correct? Stegall. I want to make sure that I'm doing that. I know my name is Brown. It's a simple name to say Brown. But you got a catchy name. But the thing is that what we need to do is we need to
make sure that we analyze what you're dealing with. And then you say you want same night minutes on this particular issue, on the Tennessee Forestry grant. So what is the real objective of pushing that expeditiously, that what we were doing? I know I'm going backwards and forth, but I mean, it's something we need to take a look at. But I was trying to figure it out for a minute, because it's my, I didn't have my, well, actually, I just finally got it. I didn't have it. So I want to make sure where we are. So,
As a point of clarification, Council,
Okay.
There are no matching grants.
well, that's what I thought it said. Did I not read it correctly? That the city was gonna put some revenue in along with the Tennessee Forestry. The second part of the component of the program.
Not for tennis.
Not in set tennis. I'm talking about, I went back to the forestry division, that grant. That the city was gonna match that grant, the 10. Is that correct? If I'm wrong, just tell me. All I gotta do is just tell me that I'm wrong. There was not a match that we had to do with that particular grant from the Tennessee Forestry.
If it's in kind, if it is, there's no revenue.
I just asked, I'm saying, but was it a match? Did we have to match it? That's the question.
I don't recall seeing.
I'm not trying to raise, but it said that we gotta press this issue, because it is a grant that we have to go through, we have to get same night minutes on. Is that the expeditions that get the revenue in?
Well, the premise behind the request is just, since it's funds that's being provided by someone else,
Okay.
I would just like to get the funds as quickly as possible. And there's no match. The city doesn't have to spend any money to approve it quicker.
And just a point of order, that item has already been voted on.
I know, but it's going back to the second one. I got you. I'll stop right there. And I'm the vice chair of this committee.
Yes, sir.
I just want to remind, okay.
Let's go back to the tennis,
Okay.
the line
Okay.
item that's
All right.
on the table at this point. All right, did you give up your time?
No, I was just
Councilman
yielding to him.
Johnson,
But, so, for this upcoming fiscal year, the amount of total expenditures will be 500,000, with 200 being for utilities and 300 being for operating. Is that what's proposed?
That's correct.
Okay. You mentioned a second ago that this isn't the only type of agreement or arrangement where we pick up the utilities, but then you responded it by saying some.
That's correct.
So can you identify which ones we have that arrangement with?
Well, if I recall correctly, the zoo management agreement, they do pay the utilities, we pay the sewer fees, anything that's less than 75,000. Over Park Conservancy, we pick up a certain amount of utilities for that management. And for Goodwill Homes, we pay the utilities there.
I know,
Yeah, and Botanics,
Botanic, I'm sorry, we pay some utilities.
So,
What about Brooks?
Brooks, we give them, certain fees, I don't remember exactly what it is, what is Brooks? Yeah, 571, but we don't pay their utilities per se. They pick it up, that's just for them assisting in operation, it's not specific to the contract.
571,000.
I'm sorry?
571,000.
yes.
Okay. I apologize for asking you to come up with this stuff off of your head, off the top of your head, but if you could provide us just a comprehensive list of those operating agreements where we pick up the utilities,
We'll
that'd
give
be
you
helpful.
a business model for each respective management agreement that we have.
That would be perfect.
That would highlight that.
Yes.
In addition, then the
Thank you.
allocations for the $1,265,050, I know you said 300,000 goes toward Tennis Memphis. If you could distinguish the other appropriations out of that total, it would be quite helpful.
We have.
What is it? I know, you're talking about that 1,000,002, what is it broken down?
Yes, how much does Brooks get? How much does Botanic Gardens get?
570 something for Brooks.
All of those are for the sewage and utilities and,
They're gonna provide a list of
Okay.
everything.
I got you. All right, Councilman, you finished, Councilman Jones?
All right, thanks.
Councilman Boyd?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I was going to ask some similar questions to what my colleague, Councilman Jones, just did about who all we currently pay utilities for. I'm just going to say this, and I'll throw this out to my colleagues. You know, when we look at all of our contracts, I think it's time for us to really bring all these contracts together
Amen.
and really go through them. You know, I've been trying to talk to the zoo about possibly putting a fee on a surcharge fee to help take care of maintenance costs, to offset the costs that we spend in both our budgets, parks and general services. But, you know, we tell our citizens, I mean, I know the Brooks and Botanical Gardens, they're great amenities and assets for the general public. But at some point in time, we need to start pushing a little bit
Right.
more responsibility on their backs. And I mean, and then we just probably need to reevaluate, because I see we find ourselves getting into more and more agreement. But it's always responsibility of bailing these particular areas out, falling on the backs of the taxpayers. And then when we tell them we can't provide simple services like fixing potholes, but we're paying utility bills in excess of $500,000 in some cases. But I want to ask you this, Mr. Smith, as it pertains to the Tennis Memphis contract. Will that contract, how does this work? Is it something that you guys just go back in, renew annually? Or is it something that is typically put out on the street to see if there's any other entity interested in bidding on it?
This particular contract was put out to bid 14 years ago.
Okay.
It has renewal options.
How many?
It has 3 5-year renewals, I think. The original term, 3 5-year renewal. It's up for renewal now. This
should be his last
ends
extension, right?
June the 30th. Now, that's where it is right now.
Okay, since this is his last extension, are you guys putting it on the street for RFQ or RFP?
My recommendation is that we execute the extension and put in with the provision with that extension, that we will put out an RFQ or a request for quote or an RFP to see if there's another party, not for profit, that'll come to the table with $300,000 or so and have an affiliation with a national organization. But then at that time, we'll put that in context with our current provisions under the Tennis Memphis contract and make the best selection.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, don't you think that you're putting a nonprofit at a disadvantage, because the city of Memphis is about to give this nonprofit $300,000, but you want another nonprofit to already come to the table with $300,000?
I'm not understanding that.
You're asking us to give Tennis Memphis $300,000.
That's correct.
You asking us to pay Tennis Memphis utility bills. So in essence, be $500,000 that we're requesting, correct?
That'd be correct.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, the taxpayers giving Tennis Memphis $300,000, so they already have $300,000 to come to the table, but you're asking a new group that might be interested and might have the expertise to already have $300K in their account.
Well, when we extend the Tennis Memphis contract, at least for 1-year extension, with the option to put out a request for quote or an RFP. So both the responses to the request for quote and RFP will all be at the same time. They'll answer these. They'll provide what they're affiliated with, to those programs and so forth, and we'll put that in context, the responses from the request for quote with the current contract.
So let me ask you this, so you're saying on top of the $300,000 that we're giving, Tennis Memphis, they also bring in $300,000 worth of,
Yes,
that's the third line?
they bring in $300,000 worth of money from sponsorships and so forth annually.
to help with the program delivery of tennis. So if we ran that internally,
We wouldn't have that $300,000. We'd still have to pay utilities, and that's where we would be.
Let me ask you this hypothetically, Mr. Smith, and I'm just, what if, I'm just thinking, what if we had a tennis pro that put programming in place that worked for the city of Memphis, that made a certain amount of money, maybe made a percentage off of them going out to receive and recover sponsorships? Now, we have golf pros in our golf courses, correct? Or a starter, a person that understands the game of golf.
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, if we brought this thing, I'm thinking logically now, because you're requesting us to pay the utility bills. So if we hired someone to run this program, and they also, part of their job qualifications is to go out and receive private funding, fundraise, which is not unusual, how efficient do you think something like that would be?
Depends on who we got, and we could secure that person.
But do you think something like that could work?
It's a possibility, and we can look at that internally,
We can
internally respond to that request for proposal and put it in context with a possible
internal operation. The challenge would be the fundraising, because it would be challenging to get
affiliation with the National Tennis Organization as would it does not.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilwoman Falila?
Okay. First, Director Smith, nobody is beating up on you really. And what Mr. Boyd has said is a sentiment of some of the council people, is that it's like they're saying enough is enough. We're doing all of this for all of these different entities. And I don't think any council, not since I've been sitting on the council, have we, ain't nobody on the council that I was sitting on, they all gone.
You're the only better.
I mean, they just gone. I mean, we have not taken a look at to see what the Brooks is doing or what Tennis Memphis is doing. We haven't done any of that. We've just been divvying out money, huh? Here you go, you can have this, put this over here, and put this over here, put this over there, and then y'all come on back. And so, you know, every now and then, you've gotta stop and look and see if things are working properly, you know, even around your household. So, even if you're calm. So, this is not an attack on you. But if you were sitting where we are and sitting and listening how Tennis Memphis wants us to pay $500,000, then Brooks want us to pay whatever their utility bills are, and there's something else kind of bills. And then somebody else wants us to pay for this one, and then somebody else wants us to pay. I mean, it just gets to be, it just gets to be tasking. And there are questions regarding Tennis Memphis already, and looking at some of the funding, and now you're saying if an RFP or an RFQ went out, it would have to be a year. You would give Tennis Memphis a year extension. And, I mean, I understand why you're saying that, I guess. So I just don't want you to take this personally. We're just talking right now.
And I think
when we come forward with the business model for each respective management agreement that we have in parks, it'll demonstrate what their contributions are, especially in terms of capital, which we haven't discussed, the zoo, botanic, and what they raise and do and provide. I think it will help the council put that in context. That doesn't mean there does not need to be some adjustments, but that would put it into perspective for us to all get on the same page and agree with our management agreement for park services.
That makes sense.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, but the management agreement with Park Services may have to be tweaked somewhat. Because, I mean, you can expect when the days of wine and roses and everything was all great, and the city was fruitful and was multiplying, that didn't pass on to Park Services and its contracts, or those people that were the entities it was dealing with. But then when the times got lean, you still couldn't expect the same things that you were getting when times were good. So it's, we're just gonna have to take a step back and take a look at some of these, divisions, departments, these agencies, all of these people that's getting this done. Just wanna look at it. And you can thank Tennis Memphis for that. And I thank Stephen Lane for that, for getting us to open up our eyes and to look at other entities to see if there needs to be some changes.
Okay, we're running out of time, run up into the next meeting, but we have Councilman.
Yeah, I'll be fast. One of those meetings is mine, so it's okay. I just actually want to echo what Director Smith said and what Councilwoman Fullove said. Where, as we were talking about like Launch Memphis earlier and the $25,000, one of the most important things we can do as a city is to leverage the dollars that we give in the community, whether we business partnerships or just private philanthropy. And we should reevaluate and take a look and dig into all the contracts we have, but let's do it in the context all together at once rather than pulling one out at a time. Let's look at Botanic, let's look at Zoo, let's look at everything in terms of our revenues and our relationships with them. And I think, one of the complaints that I've heard and others have heard probably this year about Tennis Memphis was about facilities in our neighborhoods not being open all the time, limited hours. Part of that is operating expense, and part of that was utilities and not being able to afford to keep them open. They had a debt on utilities, even, that's going back to $300,000. So, if we do away with Tennis Memphis now, we lose that 323 matching, that leverage that we're aiming for to find in the communities, the monies and agencies that we put in. So let's be careful. Let's dig into this year. Let's look at all the contracts at once and try not to throw out any babies with the bathwater.
Okay, Councilman Jones, and then Robinson, and we'll end this.
Yeah, I was just reviewing the documents that we have before us, and I'm looking at the income for fiscal year 2017, fundraising, grants, sponsorships, $323,500. But if you look at where it says council request number 6, total revenues, grants, sponsorships, and fundraising, that's only 174.
That's what they've done so far this year, that's correct.
Right, but, so with only a month and a half remaining in this fiscal year, do we expect their total to essentially be close to 50% more than what this amount is here for this upcoming fiscal year?
I would have to ask Tennis Memphis that.
School's out now.
I'd have to ask Tennis Memphis.
Because, if we're saying that, right, so and what I was looking for, there's a website, everybody, called GuideStar. Every nonprofit organization has to file their Form 990, which is their tax return, but for nonprofit organizations, I don't see a 990 past 2013, which technically would have been 2012, depending upon what their fiscal year is. So I don't have any current financials to base that on. So I guess I'm a bit skeptical of these numbers, and if their fundraising of 174 or 175 is all we have to go on, they come up short. So in essence, we would be providing close to 50% of the total funding of this organization if we base it upon what they've raised so far. If we talk about that $300,000 operating, $200,000 for utilities, and that would be reducing this 323, because to me, this 323 is a fictitious number because I don't see anything that says that they've, Mr. Lang, you're here, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see any documentation that says you've been able to raise that in the past. Now, I can only base it upon the information that I have before me here. So, but still, that being the case, are there any other organizations that we are funding at a 50% level?
In terms of,
And so, well, and that's somewhat of a rhetorical question, but as we are sitting having this discussion though, operationally, I don't know if it would be wise for us to make this type of investment based upon the financials that are being presented to us.
To conclude you.
Yes.
We'll complete this discussion with Councilwoman Robinson.
Okay, thank you. As I looked at the income, and they have a column here with percentage, and Martavis is correct when you look at the percentage. You can't ever have income more than 100%, and this is over 100%. My concern is not with really Tenant Memphis or the zoo or all these entities. We don't have any continuity in our contracts. Whatever we're offering to do for the entities that we work with, it needs to be fair and equitable. And why we do one thing for one group and why we do something for another, I don't understand that. So I know the general public doesn't understand it and they're not at the table. My concern about managing and allowing people to have evergreen contracts, remember I brought that up last time we had a meeting, and we get a contract year after year, and then we don't have the processes in place to ensure that we're holding people accountable to turn in a 990s on time and turn in whatever it is that we require as an entity representing our public. I believe that not only in the Parks Division, but throughout the city, we need to get our contract management together and decide what we're going to put in our contract with people who are partnering with the city, and that it makes sense to not just us, but it makes sense to the general public. And right now, it's not making a whole lot of common sense for us to pay for utilities, to pay for the upkeep. We're basically paying for somebody else to manage it, but we really need to be managing it until we have a definitive answer on what do we want our parks to look like? What do we want the end product to be for the citizens of Memphis, and how much are we willing to pay for it? And are we willing to do it for all the entities? And if one entity gets more than the other, what is the reasonable justification for that? Based on what I've heard, I cannot spend taxpayer dollars and to keep giving away the responsibility of this council to be the voice of the community, when we're constantly giving that voice to somebody else to manage it. We've got to bring this back to the table as a council and discuss this. And we don't need to move forward any more contracts until we discuss what with our attorneys, what contracts should include, what continuity they should have. And as a council, we have to say, not just the mayor, we have to agree with the mayor on where our priorities are with the city. We do tennis, we do activities for our students, but we don't need to be concerned that our dollars are not doing what they need to do across the board. I cannot support this at this time. Thank you.
Yes.
I got one question I'd like to ask the director, interim, and Mr.
Steve.
Oh, I know. I got his name, but look, thank you. Let me ask you something. Can the parks and recreation run this tennis program without an outside entity? Can you do that?
it has been done many, many years ago.
Okay.
So,
Theoretically, answer to that would be yes.
Okay.
Can we run it as efficiently and bring in that $176,000, whatever it might be, as was discussed with, Mr. Boyd.
I know you should have personnel in place to run this program and make things happen for the best, because right now, it's looking real cloudy. And, there's some questions on the program itself. And if the program went back in-house, then the program could actually be administrated.
And that,
pretty well.
and that will be put in context with the request for quote for RFP. We will look at operations internally compared to this response as we get to that. And that's a very good question, and we intend to look at it.
Because I'm not in position at this time that I want to vote for what's on the table. I think Ms. Robinson said, the city council, Mr. Patrice Robinson made that statement. Something, then Mr. Jones, he catches, because he's good at catching numbers. There's two of them here I know can catch some numbers. A lot of them I know that maybe three, maybe four. Everybody looks at these numbers. The thing is that you say you had this fundraiser, but then we go back and you didn't only raise $174,000 compared to $323,500. I see now. So that's, I think, in the best interest of your program is that you go in-house and you run your own tennis program. And I know that you got some people with the level of expertise that you can employ to do this, the particulars. Even if it was just for the tennis program. How many months is the tennis program?
Councilman Brown, we've gone over it.
I went over my time. You know what?
We're now into.
No matter how many years you've been here, you go over your time.
Thank you, Director
Thank
Smith,
you.
and thank you, Mr. Smith.